guys, Ryan Drury here for CanadaFootballChat.com with part 2 of our multi-series story on the collapse of Niagara Football Academy. Now, in my first video, we went over the finer points of the conversation I got to have with the head coach that was at Niagara Football Academy, Jeff MacArthur. And he gave us some pretty good insight and details into how he thought the program ran, the benefits he saw, and what he felt went wrong. But he didn't really give us a ton of insight into what he thought went wrong, and didn't really answer to a ton of the criticism that the school faced. Now, in this video, I got a chance to talk to a former player, Kyle Forde, and he went into a lot greater detail about what he thought the program lacked, and amongst other things, where he thought it went wrong. So it's a pretty interesting conversation I managed to have with Kyle via Facebook, and we're going to go over some of the finer points of that conversation in today's video. Now, one of the very first questions I asked Kyle was, do you feel that playing at Niagara Academy, which was a brand new program, will help your football career? Kyle's response to this question was fairly interesting. Kyle responded by saying, "Playing for Niagara Football Academy helped my football career somewhat because I was able to go up against top American talent, even though we got beat really bad most of the time. Another reason why Niagara Football Academy helped my football career is because I was able to make a highlight tape from the games we played. This was a highlight tape that I made myself, even though I was promised a highlight tape made for me from the head coach, Jeff MacArthur." The very next question I asked Kyle, speaking of Jeff MacArthur, was, what was the relationship between the players and the staff like, specifically with Coach MacArthur and Tricia Levasseur, the program's founder? And Kyle's response to this question was also very telling, and this is where it kind of gets juicy at this point, because Kyle goes into some pretty deep details here about the whole operation at Niagara Football Academy. Kyle responded to that question by saying, "Between the players, I had a great relationship. I also had a great relationship with every coach except Jeff MacArthur. Many people were extremely disappointed with Coach Jeff because we were promised many things that never happened. For example, a bus to every game. We had to stuff everyone on our team into local vans and cars, and because of this, many people were sore before the games. We were promised an account on Scout.com and Rivals.com, which never happened. Many people had to do their own recruiting. The point of Niagara Academy was to get the players to an American university, but most of the players on our team that graduated ended up going CIS." Now that's interesting because Jeff seemed to feel that they were getting good exposure in the States, but Kyle's telling us that the majority of the players that were in the program with him ended up going the Canadian college route. So, I mean, if that's the case, Niagara Football Academy sort of ended up failing where they wanted to succeed in a way. Now, the next question I asked Kyle had to do with what was a similar question that I asked to Jeff, which was about the criticism the school received. And the question went something like this. Niagara Academy's football program received a lot of negative criticism from people in the region, calling the school a money grab, and there were even claims of trying to recruit other schools' athletes. What is your response to these criticisms, and were you even aware of them? Kyle's response to this question goes even deeper into detail about what was wrong here at Niagara Football Academy. Take a listen to this. First, he said, "Tricia Levasseur, by the way, was another person that I love to talk to but did nothing. For example, she started a fundraiser that would get Tim Tebow down to Niagara next year. That never happened, nor did she have any intention of doing so. There was a big money problem with Tricia, the owner of Niagara Football Academy, and Leslie Murch, the owner of Niagara Academy. Leslie Murch was the one who supplied us with the teachers and the education materials, and Tricia was supposed to pay Leslie a certain amount, and she did not get a cent. They are currently battling it out in court. We found out about this in such an awful way. During lunch, Tricia called a meeting saying that we would leave our current location and move to a behavioral school named Pinehurst in St. Catharines. Leslie Murch and her teachers were completely unaware of this until we told them. Once we found out why Trisha was moving and what type of place she was moving to, many parents were furious. Of course, Trisha tried to sugarcoat it and make it seem like it was a good idea. When the parents found many students switched over to Leslie's academy, including me, it seemed like the coaches had enough as well, considering that everyone left except for Jeff MacArthur. Now, as far as the criticism of the program goes, Kyle gets really deep about it right here. He said, almost all negative criticism about Niagara Football Academy was extremely bang on. Once you find out about Matthew Levasseur, Trisha's son, and his history, you can come up with the conclusion that this academy was made for him to have success. All our players were aware of this criticism because we have gotten quite famous on All Canada Gridiron. That's a website, by the way. Even some of our players posted on the website just to show their frustrations. Just an example of how childish Trisha is. Most people are supposed to ignore when people talk trash, but instead, Trisha replied on the website, trying to defend herself and lying in the process. I would say it was a money grab somewhat, because we were promised many things that never happened. But at the end of the day, we went there to play top American schools and get a good education, and we did. Now, this is pretty serious allegations that Kyle is making, but he was there, he was part of this, and he was one of the ones paying a lot of money to attend this school, and it seems like he was really unhappy with the way that things were set up. Yes, they did get to go to American schools, and yes, it seems like he feels they got a good education out of Leslie Murch's side of the academy, but it seems that Trisha's football program, it appears that he feels it was more designed to help her son, and I'm really hoping to get some insight on that from Trisha herself in the coming weeks. The very last question I asked Kyle was, the football program may cease to exist, which it has. Do you feel that there is something that the managers could have done to make it more successful? And Kyle's response to this was also pretty telling. He laid it out pretty simple for everybody. Kyle responded that by saying, I blame the failure of Niagara Football Academy completely on Trisha Levasseur because she recruited some players that were second stringers on other teams. A good amount of the team was selected from one NUC combine, and she gave out scholarships and financial aid left, right, and center to almost every player, which is a result of why she couldn't pay her bills. Even though we lost most of our games pretty bad and her son started every game no matter how many interceptions he threw, and the food that was served to us was disgusting and uneatable. I actually went a few games without eating. I'm pretty sure people would have been able to look past that if it wasn't for all the lies. She promised us D1 teams at our practices. One time, only a U of B coach was there for a little bit during one of our practices and then left. Other than that, it was CIS schools and Simeon Fraser. We were promised Tim Tebow. Never happened. We were promised completed highlight tapes. A very small amount of people's tapes were completed. We were promised buses to games. That never happened. We got a bus maybe twice. We were promised double-digit games. Never happened. Per player. We got 7. We were promised a home game against the Cleveland Knights. Never happened. There's much more, but this is all I can remember at the moment. Kyle politely continued by telling me, I hope I was able to help you with your story. Feel free to message me anytime you need more information. Now, I feel like maybe this is all the information we need. This is really deep insight into the collapse at Niagara Football Academy. And that's why we've called this series Inside the Collapse, because that's essentially what it looks like has happened here. I mean, according to Kyle, some of the things anyway that maybe Jeff saw or felt weren't completely accurate. I mean, every player only played 7 games. That's a pretty short season. I mean, the food is bad. As an athlete, how are you expected to perform consistently in that scenario? No buses. I mean, I know that from playing hockey, I mean, transporting yourself to games can be a grind, and when you're at a prestigious school like this, or what's supposed to be a prestigious school, and you're not getting transported to games, I mean, that can be a grind on everyone, especially a unit as large as a football team. Now, Kyle, I believe, is going the CIS route. I'm not sure exactly where, but we wish him luck, and we thank him very much here at CanadaFootballChat.com for giving us all this information and insight. Please stay tuned for the following videos in this series. I'm looking to talk to a few more former players, hopefully Tricia Levasseur herself, and also a representative from Niagara Academy. So please keep checking out CanadaFootballChat.com. Comment on our videos. Tell us if you want to see something else. And just stay tuned for more, guys. Ryan Drury for CanadaFootballChat.com. Stay tuned.